Well, I mean, there's so many extra blocks, I think we could, cover it.
Okay, there are no.
We'll be joining off for the next couple minutes.
So I did a test transaction
Oh, yeah?
in New York, so I used your address here and just a New York address, and I put in the system tax that was just general or digital. So here's the codes, and I just used this digital goods. So it came up taxable in New York, and it picked up, state, county, city, special taxing jurisdiction. But then, this is an example of how you have to do, I was thinking, well, what is it that you're selling? Digital goods, no physical media, digital art. How would you characterize that? So let's look at digital training or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one. So, I mean, there's more than this. I have to really get into it.
Yeah.
But, the point being, I chose enough digital content and it came up non-tax.
Oh, really?
Same thing. So,
the tax codes.
well, that's where, getting into what physically or precisely the item is. Because you'd think if digital isn't taxable in California, it is taxable in New York. Why would this digital item be taxable? This wouldn't be.
Doesn't make sense.
But I thought you'd find that as
Yeah, that is fascinating. Yeah.
fascinating in its absurdity.
Whichever burrito looks good. What is the here? Yes.
Steak, chicken, barbacoa.
Steak and barbecue. We don't barbecue.
No. Was there only one here?
Alrighty. I think we have you guys all set up, so let me check one more time, make sure the remote people are on. Before I introduce and introduce. Remote team members. Okay, hey Jordan, you want to make sure we get all our other remote team members on?
Sure.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay. Yeah, good to go. They're doing it. Where's the dog? The dog? Where's the dog?
Sure.
Over here?
Aww.
You're missing out.
Waiting for food.
Yes, good food if you're missing out.
Can you do that?
Can you guys see over the ball? Yeah, okay, good. Oh, there we go. All right, so it's a good time to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, well, just wanted to thank everyone for having us in today. I'm Holly Kiles with Avalara. I'm a regional sales manager. I've been with the company for just shy of a year now. And so with me, I brought John Perry, who's our Southwest Director of Sales. So we appreciate the opportunity to come in and chat with you. And basically what we want to do, we have an agenda, but we just kind of wanted to give you guys just a very high level about sales tax and why it's complicated and why we definitely probably our services probably really help your customers, your clients. So we just wanted to educate you on that and just kind of share what's in it for you as well. So
Thanks, Colin. And I've been with Avalara since 2008. We were 50 people at the time. Now we're 1,100 plus. So it's been an interesting kind of a ride. When I started at Avalara, I had many years experience working in software, but my background is actually PR and journalism from USC, so I've read scintillating email now. But I was talking with Joel a little bit, and yes, this is extraordinarily dry. It's dry as a chip. But when you start to think about it, it gets really interesting with the absurdities of the rules that companies have to deal with. And we're a premier partner of Magento. A lot of the retail clients that you have likely have some of the challenges if they sell food or retail clothing, medical devices, software, certainly. So, you guys are building an app for a company, and it's not taxable in California. It is taxable in New York, but it depends on what kind of digital content it is. So, here's a great example. If you're in New York and you buy a bagel and they slice it for you, it's taxable. If they don't slice it, it isn't. If you go up in Missouri and you put down a Milky Way bar and a Milky Way midnight bar, one would be non-taxable because it has wheat in it and thus nougat, and so it's considered food, and the other one is considered taxable candy. New Jersey, carbonated water that's naturally carbonated like Perrier is not taxable, but club soda, which is artificially carbonated, is taxable. Who makes this stuff up? I don't know. I once had an on-site visit with Fredericks of Hollywood, and we were talking about lingerie, and then they started to talk about some of their other items that were edible. And it's like, if you can wear them, they were taxable. If you just ate the were considered candy. So, you know, it's just, this is the strange world of sales tax compliance. Good news for you all is we don't expect you to know anything about this. We just want to see
that guy. He's
exactly. And we can talk because, you know, digital content and some of the services you provide, typically in California, not taxable. I don't know if you have nexus or obligations elsewhere.
No, not present.
Right.
Primarily in California.
So not a problem. But it really is for particularly your fast-growing companies who are spreading. And you know, here's an example of how far states are going. In Ohio, there's a bill in the state legislature right now that considers, if you go online to an e-commerce site, and usually there's a cookie that you got to download, they're considering that tangible property that is going to connect anybody who goes in the state of Ohio and does a transaction that will have nexus in the state of Ohio.
Oh, wow.
Now, that bill hasn't passed, but it just shows you the lengths that states are going to get their remittance, because as Holly will say, there's you know, all states are in some form of fiscal crisis, and sales tax is a very big part of their budget. And there's also, with the advent of the internet and e-commerce, a lot of states aren't getting their due. Billions and billions of dollars are not being collected, and so they're trying to, you know, you've heard maybe of the Marketplace Fairness Act. This was an attempt to level the playing field for bricks and mortar stores, which is to say that lobbyists for Target and Walmart are saying, hey, I'm losing business because people go into the store, see the item, go home, and then buy it, and often are not charged sales tax, even though they're supposed to volunteer.
Use tax.
So without further ado, thanks for everybody who's remote. We hopefully brought enough tchotchkes and fun stuff, so next time you get them.
Great. So, start out, thought it'd be fun to play this little clip it. Oh. There we go.
Joel, can you make sure you share the screen?
Oh, it's not.
Didn't I share it? Yeah, pause real quick. Let me. Thought I shared it, Jordan. Oh, let me see.
It'll be a very boring presentation.
Yeah. Presentation for you guys to watch.
I'm on the seventh slide, and people say, am I supposed to be seeing something? No, dulcet tones of my voice.
And me eating chips.
You're really good at describing it.
So this is one of, this guy on the video is Will Frey. He works at our corporate office, and he does what's called Will's Whiteboard, and they're actually really funny videos, and they're posted on Avalara.com, so you can, anything sales tax, he's got a video clip on it. And he's a really funny guy, so we thought that would be a great way to kick off this meeting, show one of them.
There we go. Can you see that, Jordan?
Yep.
Jordan? Yep. Okay, cool. All right, sorry about interrupting.
No worries.
Okay.
Hi, welcome to Will's Whiteboard. I'm Will. Today we're going to be talking about how incredibly hard it can be to manage sales tax changes. What we have for you is this sales tax rate change notice from the state of Texas. And this puppy just represents a single jurisdiction in Texas. Obviously, though, sales tax isn't the only thing you have to think about. There are tons of other things that you have to manage. Let's illustrate that. This is a habanero pepper. These things are super hot. If you've ever gotten too much Tabasco in your mouth, these things are about 100 times hotter than that. Okay, so this is hard and this is hot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to read this entire sales tax rate notice change. But first, I'm going to eat a habanero pepper. And again, this represents all the things that are distracting you and vying for your attention and keeping you up at night while you have to deal with sales tax rate changes.
He really did this, by the way.
Instant regret.
I put habanero candy bar.
It's wax.
Oh,
You'll see. Look at the color in his face.
Oh, man.
So, I've got a copy here. This says, the Harris County Emergency Services District, number 9, is located in the west central portion of Harris County, so we're not, obviously not talking about the whole thing. The district's boundaries for the imposition of sales and use tax exclude areas of the district which are responsible for collecting and remitting sales and use tax to the city of Houston. And this is due to a strategic partnership agreement between a utility district and the city. And this district excludes the Bridgeland Management District, which is located, or the district is located entirely within the Houston MTA. I don't know what that is. We can look that up for you. Which imposes a transit sales and use tax. The MTA imposes a transit sales and use tax. The unincorporated areas of Harris County and zip code 77040, 77041, 77064, 77065, 77084, 77095, 77429, 77433, 774, so 47 and 77449 are partially located in the Harris. In the Harris County Emergency Services District number 9. Contact the direct representative at 713-984-8222 for additional boundary information.
Oh, yes. It's a good marketing technique. Do you have any volunteers?
Increasing search engine optimization is hard.
Right.
Here's this, yo.
So that's just an example of how sales tax is not fun. Oh,
Today we're going to be talking about how incredibly...
okay, perfect. So with that, I think that's a good segue into our presentation today. So basically what we're going to just do is just kind of do a high-level sales tax compliance overview. And then talk to you a little bit about why it makes sense for businesses to outsource, especially in the e-com world. And then how to identify the right prospect. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about our referral incentive that we have going on. We have a special program going on for the first part of the year, and then we'll open it up for any questions that you guys may have. Sound good? Okay. Awesome. Okay, so recent research was done by Wakefield, and what they found was that sales tax is hard. And so in asking accountants about sales tax, 52% stated that they'd rather complete a marathon than try to understand sales tax compliance laws.
Another one suggested that they'd rather go through a divorce. So I'm making it up.
Yeah, so it is. It's not fun. Also in the research, they found that, 40% 44% of businesses can't remember the last time that they updated their compliance processes for sales tax. So a lot of people just want to push it under the rug and not deal with it, although it is something that's keeping them up at night because it's one of those things that kind of gnaws at them knowing they need to address it, but they just don't. And of those in the study, 48%, or just nearly half of the companies that were interviewed, know that they have some risk. They know that they're not doing things procedurally as they probably should be doing. So they know they have a problem there, they're just not addressing it. And I'm just curious, I just want to throw this question out to you. How much do you think an average audit would be for, how much would it cost for a mid-sized business? Any guesses?
One guy knows in the corner there.
No one?
$10,000.
$10,000 more. Come on, you can win that.
20K.
20K? A little bit higher?
$50,000.
And highest bidder, actually.
114,147.
You are correct, sir.
Who's cheating? Yeah, an average audit costs a business $114,000. So not only does the audit cost a lot, but there's also payment, interest,
Penalties,
and penalties. Thank you.
downtime,
Yeah.
pulled away from your day-to-day duties.
Yeah, so there's, I think, really be detrimental to a business, especially if they're a smaller business too. So what do we know about sales tax? Well, it's a statutory requirement. They have to do this. And they're always at risk if they don't follow proper procedures for compliance. And it's in large a manual process. So when a lot of prospects or customers that I talk to are still doing this, they're trying to manage this with spreadsheets. And especially as businesses expand into multiple states, that becomes more and more complex because then the accounting people are then having to go to all of the DOR websites, try and research the rates, the rules, and you're trying to manage all of this on their own. And as you guys know, or as we're trying to explain here, it's way too complicated for that. So.
Well, and the thing is, you get your arms around it, and guess what? Next month it could be different. So it's a moving target. It's a hamster wheel that never ends. And all the while, the people are, anytime they're spending on this, it's a pass-through. Businesses have been tapped to be unpaid tax collectors. And then if you do it wrong, they change the rules constantly. If you get it wrong, they fine you heavily.
Yeah.
So it's a lose-lose proposition. Yet most people, as Holly mentioned, just sort of, there's two kinds. There's the hyper-compliant who are really, really risk-averse, and they're asking us all the time, what do I need to do? Should I register in every state? And you'll attest you don't want to do that if you don't have to. And then you have those who say, let them find me. And it's not so much, in my mind, an audit. I mean, audits are there, they can happen, but it's more about business efficiency, as Holly will explain.
Yeah, so it's a non-revenue generating activity for the business. So our thought, our mentality is, most businesses outsource their payroll, so why not outsource your sales tax as well? Offload that because you need to be spending time as a business owner managing and growing your business, not worrying about this stuff. So I'm going to go back right here. So this map of the United States, all of the different color codings that you see here, those represent all of the different taxing jurisdictions across the U.S. So as businesses grow, who would want to try and manage rate changes for all of those different taxing jurisdictions, file and remit in all of those different taxing jurisdictions?
Well, and in certain states, Colorado, Louisiana, Alabama, Arizona, a local county can have their own rules that might even disagree with the state. So the cloud-based software that Avalara sells is not taxable in the state of Colorado, but it is taxable in Denver. And you might have a local jurisdiction in Denver where freight is subject to sales tax, but next door it isn't. And another point, you heard Will with the Avalara saying about all the zip codes that were impacted. but zip codes do not define sales tax jurisdictions. So you might have in Colorado a zip code that has 7 different tax rates from 2.5% to 8.5%, because zip codes were designed to process mail, and they have nothing to do with the way the jurisdictions are drawn. Avalara actually has defined every taxing jurisdiction to the rooftop. So when someone buys something in Colorado, actually California, one side of the street could be in one tax jurisdiction, house next door isn't. So, you know, and it may or may not be a big deal. If you sell a widget that costs 35 cents and you're missing 4 cents of sales tax, not a big risk. But if you sell enterprise software or a huge SEO engagement, not here necessarily, but in a state where this might be taxable, and you're missing out on thousands and thousands of dollars, they don't care that you didn't know. That's just, it's at the end of the day, you didn't collect it and it's due.
Yeah, and so just to add to the complexity, yeah, so there's over 12,000 different jurisdictions across the U.S. And I think there was one of the statistics in 2014 was that there were over 14,000 rate changes. So imagine trying to stay on top of that, you know, it's too much. So this, John kind of touched on this, but how different products can be taxed differently. So if we have a Hershey's bar, and depending on whether or not it has flour, it can be determined as taxable or non-taxable. So here we'll see cookies and cream, Hershey's are exempt because it contains flour.
And that's food in Missouri.
And then non-carbonated drinks with a supplemental label is taxable. Non-carbonated with nutritional label is exempt. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. It makes no sense. Additionally, you know, just there's all these different rules around different industries. So just adding to the fact that it's just very confusing. Another gray area that a lot of businesses face is trying to determine where they actually have nexus. So the definition of nexus is having a substantial physical presence, but there are different business activities that could trigger nexus in any given state. So just for an example, say a California company has attends a trade show in Nevada, then they just created nexus in Nevada. So, or if they have remote employees. So there are all these different variables that businesses need to take into consideration when it comes to trying to determine where they have nexus. So it just adds to the confusion.
And we don't tell customers whether they have nexus or not. That's very typically something, you know, they look at us as like, can we give us guidance? We can do a nexus analysis, and they can then get that professional guidance. But, you know, as Holly and I engage customers, they'll often say, hey, can we do that? We'll say, well, typically that can, you know, having a remote employee in another state will almost always trigger nexus, but we are always very careful. We can't give you tax advice. Your CPA, or, you know, we can engage us professionally and we can give you advice. But another good example that people often get tripped up on, Amazon has a fulfillment arm. It's called Amazon FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon. And I've talked to many customers, and one of the, you know, discovery questions I'll say, it's like, you told me you use Amazon, are you using their FBA program? And they've just told me they're only in one state. And I go, they say yes, and I go, I hate to tell you, but you probably have nexus in 14 states. Because Amazon has warehouses, 14 warehouses in 16 states, or 16 warehouses in 14 states. You don't know where your product might be at any given time, and any time, even if it's your warehouse, a third-party warehouse like Amazon, and notice how I'm saying almost always, because there's so few things that are definite other than you have to pay it. You almost always have nexus in all those states. So suddenly, this company, unknowingly, is now hugely at risk in 14 states. And that $114 that Holly showed, that's one state's. So if you're in 20 states and you're doing it wrong, I mean, we've seen where there was a company called Magnus World Oregon-based company. Oregon doesn't have sales tax, so nobody there thought very much about it. Unknowingly, they had triggered Nexus in Washington. They owed $1.75 million, put them out of business. So when people are cavalier about sales tax, I'll say, read this article. And then they go, well, maybe I've been underestimating the risk that I'm taking.
So, some trigger events that could lead to changing their processes. So if they're going to be merging, expanding into new states, adding new products, management changes, or adding e-commerce. So these are all things that would trigger the need for new processes to be put in place to manage their compliance. It's pretty straightforward. Excuse me. So what Avalara has done is, I don't know how familiar you guys are with our company, but we've been around since 2004, and we were essentially started by 3 entrepreneurs. One was an entrepreneur, a finance guy, and an IT guy, and they came up with this idea. And what we've been able to do since then is build end-to-end compliance. So what we do, and the beauty of our service is that we are cloud-based, so we manage all the rates, rules, and regulations up in our cloud software. And then we've created 450 plus now, different connectors or integrations to various ERP, e-com, and accounting software, so that businesses can calculate sales tax appropriate calculations on the back end whenever they have to run transactions. So what we actually do is we give them rooftop level accuracy by taking into consideration the products and services that are being sold, their address of origin or destination, or a mix of the two, depending on if it's a hybrid state or not. And so in 0.4 of a second, we are able on the back end to calculate accurate sales tax rates, taking into consideration all of those different rules and regulations, and send it back into their ERP or accounting or e-commerce platform.
Cyber Monday of this year, we did a sustained 1,800 transactions or documents a second. So we did 63 million transactions in one day, and that was about 40% over the prior year. Last year, we did about 5.5 billion tax calculations. We remitted $14 billion. So we have the calculation engine, and this is appropriate for Magento, Shopify, your e-com folks. For the end user, it's seamless. It takes 30, 40 minutes to download the connector because all of the integration is pre-done. And so it's basically you drop it in. Now this is a piece of middleware, if you will, that communicates between Magento, the shopping cart, Avalara. But the users don't know it's there. The administrators then have access to all this, but they don't have to upload anything or download anything. And then maybe the customers that you engage software, and they have reseller. So they have a widget, Apple is one of our clients, and if you go to an Apple store and you say you're a teacher, they'll come around their counter with an iPad and go through, Avalara has a wizard, and they'll build the exemption certificate right there. So this is yet another complication. If a company has exempt customers, they sell to the government or academia, they might have many transactions that are not subject to sales tax, but the states think everything is taxable unless you can prove otherwise. And the proving otherwise is the exemption cert, and Avalara has a tool that also integrates into the accounting systems and can integrate into the web stores. So we can request, collect, archive, and make that exemption cert a living document. Coca-Cola has about 1.2 million exemption certs that we manage for them. And again, from a financial person's perspective, if an auditor called you and said, "I want to see all your exemption certs for the last 5 years," in our dashboard, they could send them off in a few seconds. For most people, it would be a mad dash to a bunch of banker's boxes only to find out they're all expired or wrong. And now you're on the hook for all the sales tax that you didn't collect, because they don't care that you didn't have the right one. They just said, "Oh, this isn't valid." So thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars could be now due, and it's awfully hard to go back to the customer. Remember that thing you bought 5 years ago? Can you send me $9, please? So, anyway, and then the final piece that, Holly came from a payroll provider, and in much the same way as payroll works, Avalara can file all the returns. So some states require paper still. Many states accept electronic remittances. For our customers, all they need to do is see all the calculations that have happened, see what it rolls up to, give us that lump sum, and they're done. Now, we'll take that lump sum and pay all the states for them, and we accept liability to file on time and other elements. But basically, we give them a single point of remittance and protection from penalties for filing late and so forth.
So
This is the only part that's important.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
And it's on your really smelly, rubbery mouth pads.
It's a cheat sheet for you guys.
And Avalara prospect.
Perfect. So, what makes a good prospect? So, again, anybody that has Nexus or is filing in multiple states, particularly these states, those are the most complicated. Louisiana has what? 38
many parishes.
So
Yeah, Alabama has 3. Okay, so some of our remittance clients, they file 3,500 returns a year. And someone would say, hey, John, how's that possible? There are only 46 states that charge sales tax. If you were monthly in all of them, that's about 570 returns a year. How could you have 3,000? Well, there are 400 local jurisdictions in Alabama. So you could file 400 returns in 1 month in one state. Imagine how complicated that would be. So.
And again, just anybody that you're talking to that's changing their processes, again, adding the e-commerce or maybe changing their back-end and accounting system, all of those things would warrant just, maybe just asking a couple of quick questions. Simple enough. I mean, I think the number one question is, if they're, especially with the e-com, how are you managing your sales tax? So that's a good segue into.
Betty Sue is updating rates.
Yeah.
And then I say, well, what if I used to say, what if Betty Sue gets hit by a bus, but now I say, what if she won the lottery? Because it seems less mean. But, it isn't uncommon that some person has been tapped to do this and they're the tribal knowledge of the company. And people do move on. And it isn't something that we like to say, and it's been kind of confirmed by most of our interactions, is that people don't do this because they want to. It's some, hey, you've got to do this too. I'm sure you can attest.
I love it.
Yeah.
We do have some openings.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just asking them about their, their initiative, their business initiatives for the year, or just looking out for trigger events, that might warrant having the conversation. So Avalara has a referral incentive or program that's going on through the end of June. So there's 3 qualifiers. First has been completed. Training. This is your training. And then if you are able to refer 5 leads by June and we're able to close one of those deals in an upwards of, it's worth $2,500 or more, then you can win $500. So it's kind of an incentive. And they can be, referrals from last year too. And so we also understand on our end what's important to you. We want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. We don't want to slow down any of your sales or your business. We just want to be an extension of your business, so that you guys are on the cutting edge. You guys are on the forefront, and what better way to add more value to your customers by offering them something that essentially they really do need. Helping them stay compliant and helping them grow their business. So you're a value-added partner. And so what we also offer is we pay commissions for deals that close. So You can get up to 40% in commissions, so we pay out 20% for the first 3 deals closed, and up to $25,000. Anything over that, you get 40%, and we will retro pay the first 3.
And considering that the average sale price is around 15 grand, but it can go up to, hundreds of thousands. So, and there's no active, Joel.
How does your pricing work, by the way? How does your pricing work for the customers?
One more time.
How do you charge your customers?
Oh, okay. Well, it's the easiest way to describe it. There were 3 different product sets there. So calculation, certificate management, and filing. The calculation engine is based on a tier. Think of a cell phone plan, but instead of buying minutes, you're buying transactions, or what we call documents. A document is a completed shopping cart. So a call to our service that returns a result in a Nexus state. So if they sell into all states, but they only have Nexus in 4, they're only being charged for the documents or the calculations that are happening, that are returning a tax calculation. Now, in the back end, we're capturing all of the gross sales because, again, I like having a finance person testify to what I'm saying, but gross sales, taxable sales, non-taxable sales, exempt sales, both sales, seller's use tax. I don't want to get into that. That's way too far into the weeds, but that is not consumer use tax. So when you buy something online and they don't charge you sales tax, we're all supposed to say, oh, I'm supposed to put that on my income tax. Nobody does. No state is going after individuals yet, but they are definitely going after businesses. So the business who says, oh, I don't have a sales tax problem, if they're a manufacturer, I don't know what business types you typically engage in. It looks like retail are very popular. So these are people who are selling B2C. So they're very good candidates for our service, particularly if they're in more than a few states. But you might have manufacturers or somebody who, doesn't have sales tax because they sell to people who sell to end users. So they're not charging sales tax, but guess what they have to do? Exemption certificates. So there are different products. It doesn't matter what you sell. You're entitled. Any lead you give us that ends with a sale, you get commission upon. And, and again, it's not salesy. You might be just providing value saying, gosh, it sounds like you don't know a whole lot about this. Would you like to talk to somebody at Avalara? And we really have a consultative approach. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're all, salespeople, but we make people draw their own conclusions. Here's the risk factor. And 20,000 businesses rely on Avalara today to manage this. We're at this sort of crossing the chasm where people are realizing, we engage hundreds and hundreds of companies every year just in our office. And I always ask, do you outsource payroll? From the smallest mom and pop on QuickBooks to the largest SAP Oracle company, they all say yes, or 9.5 out of 10. There's always some outlier. Because people know that doing payroll in-house doesn't make sense. It's a non-revenue generating activity that's risky and complicated. Well, sales tax is exactly the same, except it's a whole lot more complicated, or potentially so. So why in the world would you want to own this? And that's sort of the value proposition. But from your perspective, all we ask is that you identify somebody who might be interested in learning more. And Holly's your point of contact. We'll approach this and help them understand their risk, and then they make their own decisions. And we find they usually decide that this is nothing that they want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, just going back to the fact that businesses need to be able to focus on activities that are going to make them money, not worrying about sales tax rates. And that's it.
Very cool. I'll real quickly interject here too. This is Jordan piping in. So I've been working with Avalara for the last, 6 months or so, just with different lead introductions and things. And there's a couple of things that I find really beneficial. One, they are very good at handling everything themselves. So this really doesn't implement a lot of extra work for Coalition or for other team members. So it's a pretty easy value add to our clients. And a good way to offer, again, a more consultative value to what we're doing with, especially with e-commerce. Also worth noting, just in terms of kind of background, is that it's a tax compliance is a necessity, right? It's not something that people can just pass on and not do. And so chances are, if they don't pay Avalara, they're going to pay someone like Kenny, and Kenny will probably charge them more. So there's a good opportunity, good value add here, just to help improve processes, reduce costs, which of course increases the ROI of what we're doing. And kind of lastly, there's some added benefit just in terms of shipping accuracy and accuracy of information that's captured by our e-commerce clients. One of the things that they touched on is they provide address validation, which ensures that that our e-commerce clients are actually capturing the correct address and shipping to the right address and billing to the right address, all of which have a tax value, but also have a value just in terms of cost of doing business. If you're shipping to the wrong place or have an incorrect address, those sorts of things can be negatives. And so having address validation up front is kind of is another nice value add to the AvaTax extension.
Yes, thank you very much. That's a great point. Many companies that we engaged didn't expect an ROI for Avalara to come from fewer missed shipments. So every time they ship something out, if it's not deliverable, it gets set back, and there's a cost there and an upset customer. And so you can pay 30 grand a year just for address validation tools that are baked right into Magento and all of the other integrations. So customer fat fingers puts the wrong address. Avalara will cleanse it, put it in the proper line, preferred shipping format, add the zip+4. Not that we're using zip codes, but just to create a better experience on the shipping side. So you can go right to the pick ticket. But thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan.
Oh, mystery person.
I am a voice among many. We are anonymous.
All right.
Any other questions, guys?
So do you guys assume all the risk as well? I mean, signing up for a service like yours, do you also say if they get audited, if the business or the client gets audited, do you assume the risk as well?
That's a great question. Avalara is the only software for sales tax compliance that offers a guarantee. So we do guarantee our rates. Now, there is a caveat because we deliver the content to you. But if you've not properly set your account up or your Nexus states or your filing calendars, we can only know. I mean, Avalara does a lot of things, but Avalara ESP hasn't yet been delivered where we know where you have Nexus or, we know that you've not set your item master correctly to the system tax codes we've developed. But we do, and there's another caveat, without going again into the weeds, there's a program called Streamlined Sales Tax, and it was intended to make this chaotic, complex thing a little easier for businesses to be in compliance. So today, 23 states, primarily around the Midwest and a bit in the South, have all been what they call SST certified. And what that means is all the products are all taxed the same way. Everything is destination, so there's not this sourcing rule question, because sometimes when you ship something, the tax is based where you are and not where it's going to. Sometimes it's based where it's going to and not where you are. And sometimes the same invoice can have a mixture of origin and destination. So to get back, SST, if you join the SST program and you have Avalara as your provider, and we are SST certified, we're the largest, we were the first, it means that you have complete audit immunity in those states. If an auditor in any of those 23 states, 24, there's a couple of auditing states, but if in any of those states an auditor disagreed, Avalara attends the audit. But in the balance of the states, all of our tax codes, and Joel and I were looking at some of them, and for digital content, there's probably 100, depending on what, is it art, is it a book, is it software, does it have a disk, load and leak, there's 1,000 permutations. But all of those codes have all of the intelligence to know. So all you need to do, rather than build today, states, let's say a business has 14 states that they have Nexus, they have employees and warehouses and all of that. In their ERP, their accounting system, they'd have to build 14 tax schedules, research, probably do scripting or something to try and modify the behavior, and they'll use a rate table based on zip codes. So they're inaccurate in a number of ways. But it's a lot of work and a lot of maintenance to keep it up to date. With Avalara, all you need to do is associate an Avalara product and service category tax code against an item, and we know how to tax that anywhere in the world, really. So this is the difference. It's very easy. Our typical clients go live with about 20 to 40 hours of effort, and that's 40 hours on the high end, and that's from contract signature to a production environment. So we will often align with you and figure out what their preferred go live date is and work backwards. And we can be a part of that process so that as they're setting up their Magento shopping cart, making decisions about design that you all are helping them with, in the background, they can be spending maybe an hour a day running through Avalara University videos. We've made it so businesses take themselves live on our service, essentially. So to Joel's point, not a lot of IT involvement on your side, none at all, actually. Rarely any IT involvement on your company's or customer's side. Sometimes IT folks own systems, and so they are involved, but once they look at our code, they go, yeah, that's great. So if you have one of these, Shopify, Magento, BigCommerce, I think are your primaries. But if you had somebody who built their own shopping cart, you would still maybe help them with design. Well, we can still help them because we have API toolkits that can integrate to anything. Are we technical folks in the room? Yes. Yeah. So we're written in .NET, but we have API libraries in PHP, COM, Ruby, Java, Python, C, C#. So essentially, we have code samples, and we help developers to build the bridge if it's homegrown, one-off, custom order entry system, custom shopping cart. So that's not a barrier to engaging us. So, yes, please.
Question. So for some of these e-commerce platforms, aren't the platforms themselves responsible for the client that's using it as far as like the collecting tax information?
Well, any ERP or any e-commerce platform will have some kind of fundamental way for a business to calculate tax, and usually that means that there's a rate upload that you would do. But as Holly pointed out, rates are sales tax jurisdictions don't align to zip codes. So there's, and it depends. Everyone doesn't need our service. I like to say Michigan, the whole state is one rate, 6.5% anywhere. So you don't have those jurisdictional boundary questions. And if you sold jewelry, which is always just considered tangible property, you don't have a tax rule problem either. And you have one location. You don't need us. I mean, there could be other things we could do. We do 1099, we do W-9, we do property tax. There's a lot of other services. I don't want to overwhelm you. We're trying to keep it kind of focused. But yes, they all have some basic capacity, and it could be just fine. It's really about these qualifying questions. Are you in multiple states? What do you sell? It really comes down to what do you sell? How do you sell it? Where do you sell it? And based on those really simple criteria, it can go from being extraordinarily easy to extraordinarily complicated, and everything in between. But
so the short of it, would somebody like BigCommerce or Shopify actually offer these tax rates? I mean, are they also carrying that?
Well, we are partners with all of them. So if you go to their website, you'll see Avalara as a partner. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to promote Avalara. It's really they're trying to sell their platform. And that's their focus, as it should be. But they look at us just the way that Joel defined it. We're an extension, and it's a differentiator. So if it's two different e-commerce carts, and I can't think of one that we don't integrate to, so I can't give you a good example, but say Magento and Brand X, who hasn't become an Avalara partner, you can say, hey, we can do this and this right out of the box, but if you have a more complicated solution, we already have an integration through our partner Avalara. So they've seen it, and our marketing folks, we have a concept of scorched earth and moats. So we block out our competitors because we've already built the connectors that drop right in, so there's no development effort. And we've already got every other service didn't start as a cloud-based software. So as you probably know, it's not easy to take an on-prem software and make it cloud-based. So we were born in the cloud, and we were the first to define that as a way of addressing sales tax compliance. And everybody else has tried to now enter our market, but the barriers to entry are so huge now because we have we're 12 years in business, but we've got a huge head start on everybody else. But, again, to your point, everybody can have some basic calculation that could very well be fine. But with a little bit more probing, you might find an unknown risk, and you're providing great value to them, and then we'll fulfill on that value that you define, and you get paid for it. So, cool. In a nutshell.
All right. Well,
So, gosh, we don't want to take up any more of your time. Gosh, thanks so much. Saturday afternoon sales tax. Wow.
thank you. We appreciate you guys coming in.
No, my pleasure.
Very helpful. Very helpful.
Yeah, we all have to wait for
That bottle up there looked great too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming out.
There you go.
That's pretty good, maybe, actually.
That's right over the glasses.
I'm getting one of these.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I have pen.
I commandeered one of your orange cups.
Of course, the orange one.
Legal ones.
Oh, yeah, you have an orange necklace?
Yeah, we always have password.
Gotta have.
Okay, I should go ahead. Appreciate it.
Just like the
If you need, Holly can send that pre-zo, so.
Got it.
Yeah,
that's
right. So in case, any questions about the parking program and all of that.
So with the partner program, if we have somebody that wants to service, we just forward them Holly's email address and she'll contact.
You can be engaged as you wish. We have clients who just flip it over the fence and say, tell me when it closed.
Yeah.
We have others that want to be on every call, however you
Well,
want.
generally, we prefer to have you guys handle it.
Yeah, and
We'll step in if we need to for anything for the client.
But, until you feel comfortable, please be on every call and if you just stand it. As we probe deeply into what we just skated over here.
Perfect. I appreciate it very much, Joel.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joel.
Nice to meet you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah.
Have a safe drive back. We're gonna beat that Friday traffic.
We actually started on